Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM. AM 630. WMAL.
7:37 on this post-Halloween morning in the nation's capital. Brian Neiman, Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, joined on the phone by Jim Pethokoukis, columnist, blogger, American Enterprise Institute, AEI. He's great on the Twitter thing as well. And you see him occasionally on CNBC TV.
He's a Renaissance man.
He really is. And you were in the house yesterday at AEI when Herman Cain gave his big speech yesterday, which we're all expecting to be on economics, but then everyone was waiting for him to get asked these sexual harassment questions. How was it in the room yesterday?
Well, I actually had the opportunity to meet Cain and his staff also before the event, and I can't get on what we chatted about. I will say the demeanor was they did not seem like a group who thought they were in the middle of some sort of existential threat to their campaign, that the whole thing was going to collapse around them. I think they preferred to have been talking about anything else that day.
Right.
But there certainly wasn't a sense of panic or the train had completely gone off the rails. Now in the room, listen, he was there to talk about his tax plan. I was in the second row. I had in front of me every major person from ABC, NBC. Mm-hmm. No one there, I think, really wanted to ask how the tax plan was going to affect the middle class. They all wanted to ask about the sexual harassment scandal. He was there to talk about 999. I asked him some questions. They were all generally economics related. I believe it was Terry Moran from ABC tried to ask a question about the harassment thing, and he was shut down because that was not the purpose. If you wanted to ask those questions, you have to wait till you get to the National Press Club later in the day. But I thought Cain seemed pretty relaxed, so certainly there was a lot of buzz in the room just because everyone was dying to get some comments from him about the scandal. All
right, but when you talk to them, they seem like it's no big deal. Like, yeah, well, this thing will pass over.
This too shall pass. That was I thought that was the attitude that, hey, it comes with the territory. We're the nominal front runner here. There's going to be charges. We'll get through this.
I saw him yesterday briefly at Fox, and he seemed very relaxed. I was surprised. Mark Block seemed stressed a little bit, but Cain seemed happy and fun.
Mark Block, the man who is famous for doing
the
drag in the Herman Cain ad. All right, so from the economic standpoint, asked a lot of tough questions, I'm sure, by you guys at AEI. How did he handle those questions yesterday?
What it came from my portion of where I tried to take. I had been on Twitter asking people for questions, so I had to take some questions that people had given me via Twitter. And the first question I asked him, he immediately ducked it and said, my economic advisor will get those answers to you later, which was and I said, hey, look. That's the easiest question I have. All the others are a lot tougher.
Well, a lot more detail in the other questions. So it didn't seem like he was prepared to really get into the details of 999 and into economic policy in general.
The question I asked him, which I didn't think was particularly tough, I felt he should have been able to answer that off the top of his head. He knows his plan to a degree. I don't think he has, for my satisfactions, I think the drill down depth that I would like on what is the signature piece of his presidential campaign. I guarantee you that if it had been a similar thing, and it would have been a 2008 campaign, and I would have asked Barack Obama about health care, I would have asked John McCain about Iraq, they wouldn't have said, well, why don't you go talk to this other guy? They would have been able to talk at great length about their plans. So that's sort of what I...
that surprises me and disappoints me, only because, he's had such success in the private world, and he worked at the Federal Reserve at one point as well, did he not?
Yeah, he was one of the board directors for the Kansas City Fed.
Right.
And listen, maybe I'm asking too much. These people have a deep, thorough knowledge of the plans that they want to institute on the rest of the country. I don't think you have to have a PhD in economics, but I think you should be pretty well conversant with all the likely questions and the aspects of these plans, especially when he really, at this point, only has one plan.
Right.
He doesn't have a Social Security plan, doesn't have an energy plan, all that. So he said all that stuff was coming. So this is really what he has to talk about.
Well, as we look at the 999 or the 909 plan, have the adjustments made it a better plan in your estimation?
Well, they would say they have made adjustments. Everything has always been there. People just didn't notice it, or they chose not to talk about it. So I think the plan still has some issues, but there's certainly a lot of political issues. The issues how it all work in practice, how it would affect states with their sales taxes, it is a huge transformational change to the U.S. tax system, which is why a lot of people say, listen, the idea of let's just scrap the whole system, even though that millions of people have built all these tax strategies based on what the current system is, that it's better to try to work, if you can, from the current system, rather than just throwing the whole thing out and starting from zero, which has huge, what they call, there's huge, costs as you go from one system to the next. It's a huge, risky deal to do that.
All right,
Well,
but based on, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mary Catherine.
I was just saying, certainly if you want to pitch that, you should be able to explain it in depth.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about what's going on with John Corzine today, former New Jersey governor, a Democrat. There's a story breaking about him, and I saw you tweeting about it.
Yeah, listen, he was very successful at Goldman Sachs. He was U.S. Senator. Governor of New Jersey, got beat by Chris Christie, decided to go back and show he still had his old magic back on Wall Street, and ran the company into the ground. He made these huge bets on European debt, which was down. He was betting that they were going to solve all the problems and there would be this huge rally. And what really happened is they decided to institute a plan which would write down that debt, and Europe is still in trouble. So basically he lost a ton of money on this wild European debt gamble and sunk his firm. Not bad.
Not bad at all. All right, Jimmy P. Good to have you on the program as always. Appreciate your time and your